All gameplay in this video will be shown from the HD remaster since I'm one of the 5 people in the world who actually bought the Wii U. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess was initially released by 19th of November 2006 for both the GameCube and the Wii. It was first shown at E3 2004 and then was remastered 10 years later as a high-definition port for the Wii U. This came out in March 2016. The game was developed by Nintendo and even now is the second best Zelda game for sales. Twilight Princess's story is different in comparison to the others. Link has been presented with a gift which needs transporting to the royal family over in Hyrule. So once he finishes herding goats, Link prepares to leave for Hyrule, in which he finds out Ilia had taken Epona to heal her leg, and she scolds Link, telling him that he can't take Epona whilst she is injured. Once this happens, they are attacked by bullbins, which knock Link, Ilia, and Colin unconscious. The beast kidnaps Ilia and Colin, which then upon waking up Link chases after them into the forest, but comes across a large barrier. Once approached, a hand comes through the wall and pulls him into the darkness. This then turns Link into a wolf. He gets dragged off into a prison cell, but then finds himself getting taunted by Migna. She eventually frees up and navigates us out of the dungeon. We progress further on and meet Princess Zelda. Princess Zelda explains that Hyrule has been enshrouded into darkness by the Twilight King Zant. Midna warps us back to the light world over in Ordon. Here we meet one of the 4 light spirits, which all are sealed away by shadow beings. In order to change the areas from twilight to light, we require to fill up the vessel of light by removing the evil from each area, whilst also collecting items like in the true Zelda fashion in order to progress. The Twilight Realm is rather unsettling, whilst in the light world it's just as peaceful as you'd expect. The story connects us to previous environments in Hyrule, leading to plenty of references to the Zelda franchise within. Examples of this being Wolfling getting taught Zelda songs from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, which I personally really loved. Whilst it's arguable that Twilight Princess's soundtrack isn't as iconic as either of the N64 games, it is still great, and the Hyrule field in this game has simply one of the most amazing and well-known Zelda songs to date. However, I do find the music in the Twilight Realm rather annoying. As a wolf, Link is unable to use items in his arsenal, so instead, abilities like dashing and biting are used. This makes the fighting as Wolf Link rather limited, and it becomes rather lackluster as the game progresses. Wolf Link can also teleport with the help of Midna, which Link in human form cannot. Wolf Link can also connect to different animals, which I think is really cool and clever. You get to look into the minds of other animals you wouldn't usually be able to hear from. With all these things, Link's wolf form is also used to detect things that Link's human eye wouldn't usually be able to detect. An example of this is the pose or scented trails. Human Link in Twilight Princess is the most fleshed out Link has ever been, giving him more items and abilities than ever. Link can also learn hidden techniques in order to master his sword fighting abilities to a further standard. And these techniques will all be used quite commonly as the game goes on. The new attacks expose weaknesses upon stronger enemies, and in addition to these techniques, the items are far more varied, having plenty of items appear the first time alongside of classic weapons from previous Zelda games. A function that comes from both Majora's Mask and the Ocarina of Time is the horse riding mechanic. Our horse Epona can once again be ridden, and as human Link, she is used as a main form of transport. The NPCs in Twilight Princess really help set the tone in the game. Whilst they don't talk too much, the impressive facial and body expressions help express the emotion, and with being brought to the Wii U, the high definition really helps the characters stand out. With being made recently, effects are changed in order to make the game appear nicer. The Wii and GameCube had a hazy effect, which whilst it looks a lot nicer removed, it shows that it still isn't as visually pleasing as the Wind Waker's HD remaster. Upon closer inspection, flaws can be spotted, and quite a few areas in Twilight Princess feel as if they're missing something, but generally, the graphics are still rather pleasant. The dungeons in Twilight Princess are quite good, the puzzles are clever, and the items are being implemented well in order to increase the creative use of Link's varied set of weapons. I really enjoyed mostly every dungeon, I just really hated the water temple. Lakebed Temple, whilst housing one of the best items in the game, the claw shot, the puzzles just seem far too complex and rather obscure compared to the others. It was just painful to get through this temple, as there wasn't really any clear indication of where to go, and even the boss here was pathetic in comparison to the other bosses in the game. When I say pathetic, I don't mean he was pathetic as in easy. It was just frustrating and hard fighting this boss. The design of Morpheal is cool, but nothing else about this boss was enjoyable for me. Besides from Lakebed Temple, the only other temple I didn't particularly care about was Snow Peak Ruins. It was the only place I game overed since the enemies would freeze you and do tons of damage. But the puzzles in this dungeon were decent, and Yeto was a very enjoyable character to react with. In every temple/dungeon you can find a strange character named Uku. Uku is actually quite a helpful character. She uses her son to take you to the beginning of the dungeon, but then will teleport you back to the room you previously were in. But God, is this thing ugly. The overworld in Twilight Princess is quite barren, actually. Certain environments felt quite unmemorable and empty. I've played this game twice now with having only beaten it once. I can only remember certain sections of the game, and I happen to have poured 40 plus hours into the game this last week just for this review. But even so, with those negatives out the way, the attention to detail in this game is fantastic. There are quite a few minute details in Twilight Princess which are brilliant to see. Examples of this are Dodongos. Like in true Zelda fashion, they can die to a bomb in the mouth. If whilst they're inhaling you shoot a bomb arrow into their throat. The old fishing guy from Ocarina of Time is on the fishing wall, and you can even talk to Epona in Wolf Link form, which, it's a real nice touch. The final topic I'm going to review before I give my final rating is the side quests. The side quests in Twilight Princess are great. The mini-games are fun, but amongst these mini side quests there are two huge side quests, both the Bug Collection quest and the Poe Collection quest. Giovanni sold his soul for riches and he was transformed into a golden statue along with his cat. In order to return him to his human form, we must track down all Poes, which can only be detected by venturing along all of Hyrule, and only at night time will they appear. Giovanni gets his curse lifted once you collect 60 of the Poes, and each time you visit him, Gengar will give you 200 rupees, which is by far the easiest way to get rupees. Agatha, whilst being weird as hell, also sent 24 bugs invitations to come to her ball, which she tells us that she believes they have gotten lost along the way and wants us to track them down. Each bug we collect gives us a reward. For example, the first reward is the big wallet, then the next are just 50 rupees unless you collect a pair, in which case she gives you 100. On topic of the weird, disturbing characters, I f***ing love this guy. Finally, my final rating for Twilight Princess is an 8.5 out of 10, and the final boss fight with Ganon is the best in the franchise. Sue me.